Om Shanti and good morning. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Many years ago, when I was in Madhuban and I was taking leave, I'd gone to Daddy's room to take leave as I was departing. And Daddy was lying on her bed on her side. It was afternoon time. And she kind of, it's like the Vishnu pose, but with her back facing me. And then when I said to Daddy, I tapped her on the shoulder, I said, I'm leaving. She turned over and she just looked at me and she said to me, make your complete stage your best friend. And then she turned right back over and went to sleep again. And I think this took a few years to sink in. When we do practice soul consciousness, I suppose what we're doing is we're unhinging from something old and rehinging back into something new. So if Gopi was an old door, then imagine that door being unhinged, an old wooden rusty door put, rotting door put to the side, and then being rehinged into the deity, which is just a flowing curtain that lets breezes in and light in, a little bit of light in, but it's beautiful. It's not hard. And yet both of these things are still images, And Sangam Yoga is the time when, there's nothing's hinged, it's open. There's a lot of openness there flowing through that door because I'm the soul, the little baby of Baba. And that's what makes Sangam Yoga such a joyous time, is that I'm not a master now, like a deity. Baba's the backbone, Baba's Karan Karavanhar. And I can be a free child. And so Baba's really talking about, what is it that creates that attraction? It's when I let myself become that innocent child again. And there's so much openness and purity because there's vicelessness. I'm stripped of all the old images, baggage, burden. And I let myself be that very, very sweet, sweet soul that's Baba's baby. So today Baba's inviting us to remember our Sato Pradhan form, that complete form. And I suppose we do a lot of workshops on what's our relationship with ourselves now. So what's my relationship with Gopi now? But then what is my relationship with my complete stage? And at the same time, being this soul, having the freedom just to be a soul with Baba, allows me to observe how he's transforming me so that I can stay surrendered in the process. Because the deity is God's creation. It's not Gopi's creation. Well, I think that's the reason why Baba says don't remember the past. Because, I was in a conversation with someone the other day and, they were telling, oh, I'm still not sure I trust myself. And I just looked and said, well, that's so old. That's like old fashioned now. You are there, you are trusting, now just keep moving on. And I remember a moment when Neville was interviewing Daddy Ratanhini on the subject of soul consciousness. And he said, Daddy, I've spent 35 years studying this knowledge, and only in the last 3 years am I waking up to the fact that I am a soul. And he was kind of giving this 10-minute story of how he's woken up and this. And Daddy's sitting there very patiently listening to him. And then when it's her turn to speak, she says to him, have you realized you're a soul? And he said, yes. And she said, good, now move on. Really simple. There was no fluff to it, nothing. It was like he was more attached to the disentangling process, as if giving that the importance, than actually to the moment of realization he'd had, which is all you need to keep moving forward. And I feel like, you know, when Baba talks about whirlpools, so think of Satyug, the golden age, as an ocean that's just beautifully still and serene. And underneath the surface, there's beauty, there's harmony, there's a flow. And we're all in the flow. And then from the Copper Age onwards, begin these little whirlpools in the ocean, because they're the whirlpools of I and my, where we've suddenly created a very limited identity to survive or to feel safe in the ocean that's starting, you know, when you get self-conscious, you feel, oh, I'm so little and the ocean's so big. It's like that self-consciousness actually makes you weak. You see that in the process of the growth of life. Like the baby is completely the master and confident. The moment that little baby grows up and starts to get self-conscious, weakness enters. The teenagers, this nervous individual, suddenly from being just this overconfident baby to this nervous individual trying to find themselves. So I think that's what happens at the beginning of the Copper Age, when we start to see and become self-conscious, and then, oh, I'm so little and this big, oh, let me just find something for security. We create this whirlpools everywhere in this ocean. And so we're not in the flow, and we then find ourselves having to go with someone else's flow. You go with the flow. So, you know, we have to cross all of that and cross our own whirlpool that's been created. And I suppose because we're so used to feeling security in what is I and my, and the I of experience, the I of the body, the my of possessions, the my of relationships, that we can feel vulnerable when we are unhinged from that. And yet, when somebody said, as the soul, I am supported, it's like, it's immediate. Baba's presence is so deeply fused and linked with the soul that the moment you have the courage to unhinge, he's got you. He's got you. And so the courage is required to keep unhinging, because Sangam Yuga, the confluence age, is the age to experience the joy of being self-conscious, the joy of liberation, the joy of freedom. And to let Baba do the work, to let the parent carry you. We can be adults in the golden age. And this, I was remembering Daddy this morning, because, you know, I saw how Daddy had made effort at a subtle level. She kept herself bodiless. And this soul knew how to use Daddy, and she knew how to be the child. She knew she was a world emperor. She knew she was a daddy in the confluence. She knew she was a child of God. And she just played. She never got stuck in any one image. And that's why when Baba said today, you know, the Supreme Soul is without that image, it's so liberating to keep Baba in our intellects, because it keeps us free of self-image, which leads to self-consciousness. And, you know, you can create a self-image from anything really fast. So when you've done something, you know, what you've done creates an imprint, and you can carry that with you. And then if you carry that with you, you're then driven into the thought, oh, well, I have to do more of this. The pressure begins. So being liberated and staying liberated is such a wonderful practice of being the point, being bodiless. Just shedding the fruits of your actions, shedding I and my, shedding, you know, what I've done, shedding what I have to do, and really just trusting the parent and trusting the drama. That when I do become soul conscious, Baba and drama have my game plan to perfection in place. So there's nothing to worry about. And I think when it becomes clear inside that all I have to be is soul now, oh, Brahmin life becomes so simple and liberating. And the experience of newness is that experience of being liberated in each moment. It's being the baby in each moment. There's just no awareness of what it's done. You know, to be crying 1 minute, get into the mother's lap, stop crying, and forget it even cried. And this, I tell you, I've watched Daddy like this. You know, Daddy sometimes has been in incredible pain. She had costochondritis, which is a condition that affects the sternum. She's coughed so much and there's cracks here. So you can imagine the pain. She would have pain injections. There'd be certain nights when she'd be screaming in pain. And then the next morning, you know, she gets up, sits on her thing, she's giving badams like nothing's happened, smiling so sweetly like a baby. And there's no residue left. It's like she can't even remember what happened at night. It's gone. So I guess surrender is giving yourself the permission to forget.